At Canberra Airport, a Boeing 707 carrying United States Secretary of State Dean Rusk. Mr. Rusk leads his country's delegation to the ANZUS Council talks to be held in the strictest secrecy. Australia's ambassador to the United States, Sir Howard Beale, flew home especially to take part. At a press conference, these were Mr. Rusk's comments in part.
I'm delighted to be in Australia for the first time. In terms of miles, it has been a very long trip. We politicians sometimes talk about a shrinking world, but I can tell you that it's still a pretty big one. The ANZUS Treaty is a basic element of my country's security policy, embodying the principle that the defense of the three partners is indivisible. To this principle, the physical and moral forces of our three countries are jointly committed and will remain committed.
Prelude to discussions on major political and defense problems of mutual concern to America, New Zealand, and Australia. A press conference in Canberra, and the Prime Minister speaks on common market issues.
I think my broad impression in the United Kingdom was that it would be a mistake to think that there's a unanimous mind. There isn't. The various ministers have various degrees of emphasis in their own minds. But I think there is broadly a considerable belief, not by any means universally held, a considerable belief that there's political merit in Great Britain going into Europe.
From his discussions with President Kennedy, Mr. Menzies comments on the American attitude to the proposal.
I don't doubt for one moment that the administration would like to see Great Britain in Europe. I think that what the President said in the communique which we issued, that he expressed his strong belief in the importance of the Commonwealth as a source of stability and strength for the free world, is quite right. I was very greatly impressed by his lively and friendly interest in the Commonwealth, and indeed by his knowledge of it and what it stood for.
And on the question of the itinerary for the forthcoming royal tour,
on this occasion, the Queen, I think, would like to visit each state, but not just as a sort of state visit in which people are arguing about why don't you come to our town because you went to another town last time, but perhaps some particular occurrence in a state will attract a royal visit. We're going into that this week.
Bushfires rage out of control in Victoria's Dandenong Ranges as the state faces its worst fire outbreak in more than a generation. In near-century temperatures, searing northerly winds whip the flames into a raging fury that casts a huge shadow of smoke over hundreds of square miles. Firemen and volunteers wage a ceaseless battle to contain the fires that race through tinder-dry scrub with terrifying speed. Firefighters beat back the flames in one spot, only to find fresh outbreaks a few yards away. Gallant efforts save some houses from destruction, but elsewhere, the tally of dwellings burned out begins to mount. Sinner Sound cameramen Gordon Lloyd and Mike Malloy travel scores of miles over winding mountain roads from one danger area to the next. Weary volunteers fall back a few yards for food, drink, and rest before rejoining the thin human line that's struggling to hold back the flames. There's a suggestion that the fires have been deliberately lit, and Victorian police have promised to spare no efforts to find the culprits. As the situation grows worse, the Victorian government orders troops to stand by with every piece of available equipment. For Victoria, there could be another Black Friday. For some, the fire's done its worst. Even a water tanker wasn't speedy enough to outpace the flames. By night, the mountains are a glowing inferno. As the temperatures drop, it gives the firefighters a chance to hold the flames before the next day brings the rising temperatures and driving winds that will rouse the fires into renewed fury.
The Overseas Telecommunications Building at Paddington, New South Wales, and a ceremony to open the Tasman link in the world's largest cable-laying project, the £33 million Commonwealth Pacific Cable. A new concept in international communications, the single submarine cable will provide telephone, teleprinter and broadcast facilities through 80 two-way voice channels. At the New Zealand end, the Mayor of Auckland and Prime Minister Holyoake await a call from Prime Minister Menzies to officially inaugurate the link, after which it will be open to the public.
Mr.
Hello?
Menzies. Mr.
Yes.
Menzies.
Yes.
Mr. Holyoake is on the line.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, please.
Hello.
Hello, Bob.
Hello, Keith. How are you?
I'm just 100%.
Where are you? In the Auckland Town Hall?
I'm in the Auckland Town Hall, and obviously you are here too, Bob, by the sound of your voice.
It's pretty good service, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely true.
We must advertise it.
I say, just another thought. This links us so much more closely together. You remember when I was in Canberra 5 or 6 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I made our position quite clear, didn't I, on the question of the seventh state of the Commonwealth?
That's right. I was
Yes.
telling the audience here about it. I said that what you said was that if there was any takeover talk in the air, you were prepared to make a bid.
Yes, that's
That right? Does that still stand?
No, that still stands, yes.
I have the great honour of declaring on behalf of Australia and at the Australian end this cable open.
And I join with you and on behalf of all of the people of New Zealand, the people at this end, I join warmly in declaring the cable officially open from the New Zealand end.
Good.
Cheerio, Bob.
And I'll be seeing you later.
Remember me to Dame Patty.
I will. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Teenage Twist fans run riot in the overseas terminal at Mascot Airport as they wait to greet the high priest and inventor of the craze, Chubby Checker. They're so enthusiastic that Checker and singer Bobby Rydell just can't get out of the customs hall. Eventually, police force a way through the crowd of young fans who've waited for more than 10 hours to catch a glimpse of their idols. The King's subjects shout for a command performance, and the Twister-in-Chief obliges. Twister Diane Hilton joins her leader, who's just completed a film for Columbia Pictures, Twist Around the Clock, to be seen shortly in Australia and New Zealand. And with Hollywood's stamp of approval, it seems that no matter which way we twist, we can't escape the hottest item since the Susie Q and the Bunny Hop. Off the West Australian coast, the British assault carrier Bulwark prepares to launch the biggest Sealand exercise held in years. 400 tough Royal Marine Commandos are to show how it's done 1962 style. Using helicopters, the invaders are swiftly carried to shore, where they'll attack Australian paratroops, dug in on the Spinifex plains. The helicopters carry 6 men, and they keep up an around-the-clock service between ship and shore, bringing in supplies and reinforcements. Australia will soon have an assault vessel like the Bulwark, and exercises like these show how effective such a ship can be. These Marines are experts and quickly get the upper hand over the enemy in the first assault landing of its kind made on our coastline. South Australia's Barossa Valley, and the Grape Harvest is in full swing. It started 2 weeks earlier this year because of an unusually dry season, and although the crop will be down 10%, there'll be no shortage of wine. The harvest is expected to last some 8 weeks, and the pickers, who come from every walk of life, each pick an average of 2 tons of fruit a day. At this vineyard, the crop is expected to yield enough grapes for 1 million gallons of wine. The picking operation has to be swift, for an unseasonal storm could ruin the crop. From the fields, the precious cargo is taken for weighing. Australia uses some 140,000 tons of grapes for winemaking at roughly 3 bunches to the bottle, and this fertile valley provides about 80% of the total. Later this year, the end product of the harvest will adorn the tables of scores of households here and overseas. And what could be more fitting than a toast to the harvest with some fruit from the vine?
At a Sydney beauty school, 6 girls complete a makeup course for an international beauty diploma. For the final phase, there is a practical examination before a panel of judges. Doreen Tang came to Sydney from Singapore to do the course and to qualify for a diploma recognized throughout the world. The judges are the Chief Guidance Officer of the Technical College, a radiologist, and Madam Corner. They examine the girls in theory as well as checking on their practical work. The girls receive their diplomas, and top of the class is Doreen Tang, with 417 points out of a possible 500, qualified beauticians and beauties themselves.
Australia's challenger for the America's Cup enters the water for the first time, coming slowly from the Halverson's boatyard where she was built. For the first time, too, the intense security guard on the 12-metre yacht is lifted and her lovely lines are fully revealed. A syndicate of Australian sportsmen and businessmen has built the yacht to challenge for the America's Cup off Newport, Rhode Island, in September. As cameramen record every movement, the gleaming yacht enters the water on her cradle, from which she'll be lifted by the huge floating crane Falcon. The challenge is being handled as gently as a newborn baby. Designed by naval architect Alan Payne, the new yacht is to be called Grape. She was built after experience with the American 12-metre yacht Vim and is the first 12-metre yacht designed or built in Australia. It's a quiet, slow launching, but once she's safely in the water, there's a burst of cheering from the men who built her. And after the launch, Gretel is towed on her first trip down Sydney Harbour, under the arched framework of the new Gladesville Bridge, under the harbour bridge itself, and onto Garden Island and the Captain Cook graving dock, where the 90-foot mast will be stepped. Men who've lived among ships and worked on ships all their lives take a keen interest in the Challenger's lines as she's made fast alongside the dock. Mr. Noel Foley, Sir Frank Packer, Mr. W.G. Walkley and designer Alan Payne are keen spectators, and Sir Frank hands over 2 sovereigns to be placed under the tall mast for good luck. And now the mast is lifted, and Gretel is ready for the last stage in her building. Slowly, surely, the mast is lowered into position. The mast which will carry the huge Dacron sails that Australia hopes will give it victory next September. Then the first trial sail with Sir Frank Packer at the helm. Gretel is not out to make fast time, but she performs beautifully, despite some minor bugs which trials like these are designed to find. She's a lovely yacht. Months of sailing like this are ahead for her. Months of intensive training for her crew before she makes her bid for the America's Cup. But now she's ready to receive her name. And at the Royal Yacht Squadron Kirribilli, the Governor-General Lord Delisle is present for the occasion. He is Commodore of the squadron. Sir Frank Packer, Chairman of the Australian Challenge Association, escorts Dame Patty Menzies towards the bow of the Challenger. The crowd of distinguished guests sees her break the traditional bottle of champagne and name the yacht Gretel. United States Consul General Bass is an interested spectator at the naming of a yacht which hopes to break America's hold on the cup. And Gretel dons her sails with Vim in the background to go through her paces in Neutral Bay. Australia's challenge has gripped public imagination in the United States as well as Australia. And Gretel, designed and built here, seems a worthy challenger. Only time will tell, but if keenness and skill mean anything, Australia will put up a good fight off Rhode Island next September in the races for the America's Cup.